Now we need to talk about expressions with exponents and roots. Now, the previous section, I had instructed you to practice with your calculator and doing exponents on your calculator. This set of problems is just an additional practice. Instead of just doing one number with an exponent or one number with a root, you're going to do multiple numbers with operations in between. This is simply a practice to make sure that you're using your calculator correctly, because if you're not, when things get more complicated, it's going to be even more difficult for you to get the correct answer. A tool is only as good as your confidence in using it, so make sure that you can get each one of these answers by typing it in correctly. Now this section is a little bit more complicated. Instead of the problem coming with all the numbers put in place, we have some variables, and it's our job to put the numbers where they belong. When we do that, that's usually going to involve adding some parentheses that didn't originally come with the problem in order for the calculator to understand what we mean. In example number 7, if we want x squared and x is -3, that means we want to square not just the 3 but also the negative. If you'll recall, on your calculator, if I type in -3 with a square on it, that'll give me one answer. If I type in -3 in parentheses with a square on it, that'll give me a different answer. Well, when I look at this problem, if I want x to be -3 and I want to square x, I don't want to do this. I want to square the entire quantity, the negative and the 3. So use your parentheses when putting this into the calculator. -3, close your parentheses, and then put a square on it, and you should end up with 9 for an answer. Number 8, I've got a negative in front of my a, and a is supposed to be 9. If I write negative and then I write 9, that takes care of everything without me needing to add additional parentheses. Now I want to add b squared, and b is 7. 7 squared is the same with or without parentheses because it's positive. So this is an example where I didn't really need to add anything extra. I just plugged in my numbers, type it into my calculator, and I should get 40. Now I have the same problem here, only this time my a and b are negative. When I do this, I am going to need to put in some extra parentheses. I want a negative a, and a is -9. I never want to draw two negative signs back to back without being separated by parentheses. Now I need a plus sign, and I want to square -7. Now again, just like in number 1, I want to square the negative and the 7. To do that, the -7 needs to be in parentheses with a square on the outside. All my negatives are negatives. They're not minus signs as far as my calculator is concerned. So all my negatives I should be typing in with a little minus sign on the bottom, not the minus sign that's over to the side. Type it in all at once, hit enter, and you should get 58 for your answer. This time I'm starting with c cubed. C cubed is a -4. Just like with the square, if it's a number with an exponent, I need the negative to be inside the parentheses, so the negative gets repeated as many times as the number does. The negative is part of the base. Now I want to go -2, and then I want to do times 2 squared. So even though my 2 that's going to be squared is positive, I don't need the parentheses to identify my base. I need the parentheses to stand in for my multiplication. I could just put a dot between the two, but that gets a little more confusing when you're looking at it. On the calculator, it really wouldn't make a difference. But -4 keeps the base, the negative as part of the base. Over here, I just need 2 squared. The parentheses are there to stand in for the operation of multiplication. And this should give you an answer of -72.